am showing strong signal to YouTube, strong signal to Facebook, and rockstar signal to OpsLens.
How about now?
Yeah. Now
Yes.
you're good.
Okay.
All right. I think we're about to take this puppy live. It's 6 o'clock in the big city.
Sioux Falls?
Yeah. Hey, we got 200,000. Come on. There we go. I'm going to share to that page and that page.
Oh, shit. Are we doing any DGUs or anything tonight?
Yeah, we've got 2 DGUs in show notes. One of them I put in there. All right, Facebook folks, hey, welcome. YouTube, hey, welcome. OpsLens, hey, welcome. We're going to be doing episode 558 of the Polite Society podcast here in just a second. I need to look over at my show notes and make sure. Tracy, thank you for writing yourself in. And after she's finished with that, oh, I'm just glad to be here. That's awesome. All right. I do believe, everybody, we're going to kick this thing live and start recording. We're live, but we're going to start recording for the show. So here we go, staff. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Hi, this is Matt from Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns, and you're listening to another fantastic show on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Visit selfdefenseradio.net to check out all the other great shows.
Treat every firearm as if it's loaded.
Never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy.
Keep your finger off the trigger until you are on target and ready to fire.
Always be sure of your target and what lies beyond it.
Hi, and welcome to the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. We're recording this one on Monday, September the 20th, last day of summer 2020. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm Rob Morse. And on tonight's show, we'll talk with John Anderson about his podcast, Get Off My Lawn.
I'm John Richardson, and we'll talk about the death of Justice Ginsburg and what happens now.
And I'm Amanda Suffolk, and we will discuss the happenings at this weekend's GRPC.
Oh, maybe if I bring
ways
her
to be safe at gas stations.
I'm Tracy. Amy, repeat that, please. I had you in a different screen.
Oh, okay. I'm Amy Dillon, and in our DGU segment, we'll discuss ways to be safe at gas stations.
I'm Tracy Thronberg, and I'm just glad to be here.
I'm Gary Doherty, and one of our DGUs, an armed citizen stops a carjacking and kidnapping. Climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 558 of the Polite Society podcast. All right, we are back. It is a Monday again this week that we're recording, and the show will go out as a podcast on Tuesday. We've got a new guy I need to introduce you to. His name is Rob Morse. Hadn't been around for a while. Rob, you made it through the hurricane. Tell us a little bit about everything you've been up to since the last time you've been on the air. We've only got 90 minutes.
I sat through the middle of a significant hurricane. The eye passed very close to us. If you have the chance to do that, avoid it. We've had irregular internet service. It basically started yesterday. There was some looting in unoccupied homes at night, and some homes that looters thought were unoccupied. Yes, some looters were shot and killed. John, how about you?
Well, my weekend was spent deer hunting, watching as much of GRPC as I could, and playing with the grandkids. As to the deer, I didn't see a one. And there's always next time. Also, when a 2.5-year-old wants to watch Bubble Guppies and you want to watch GRPC, Bubble Guppies wins.
Every single time.
Every single time. Fortunately, each and every presentation is now up on YouTube. How about you, Gary? Any bubble guppies?
No!
I'm sorry.
Paw Patrol?
Yeah.
Teletubbies, man. Teletubbies, that's where it's at.
You know what, Paul? It's been a lot of politics and guns. My county-wides are doing a 100,000 piece lit drop, and so every free moment I have, I'm packing little plastic bags with everybody's literature, and in the interim, with a headset on, answering the calls because lots of training, lots of questions. When can we go? I've got another student booked in a couple of days. I've got weekend concealed carry classes going. I mean, it's just busy. Amy?
I will be writing a monthly column that will start going to print in the January 2021 issue. Articles will be available in print and online. I also attended the virtual gun rights policy conference over the weekend. It was a lot of fun, although I missed seeing everyone in person. I've been shooting and training for the DC Project Team Match, which is taking place in Burnett, Texas, October 30th through November 1st. And I just want to let our listeners know that we will have a festival and a banquet on the Friday before the weekend match. So I want to encourage our listeners to come and join us if you can. You can find more details and how to register at dcproject.info/match. Tracy, what's going on with you?
It looks like the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, whatever, is trending downward in Travis County. I still haven't done much anything except work, no teaching, no training. Masad Ayub will be at KR training this weekend teaching the MAG 20 classroom portion of the rules of engagement for the armed citizen, and we've got a packed house for that event. I will be spending the weekend with him being his ground support. Next Monday and Tuesday, I will be teaching a MAG 20 live fire at KR training. I'm expecting it to be a small class because of the ammo crisis and it being a 500 round, class. But other than that, not a lot's been going on. Amanda, what's going on in Ohio?
Well, I taught another CCW class over the weekend, and then as soon as I got done with that, spent the rest of my time watching the whole lineup of the DC Project gals rock the gun rights policy stage. So I pretty much didn't miss any of those. And I'm going to go back and look at some of the others and some of my friends and who all did stuff. We added Albuquerque, but we've added it. And then I was asked by my state rep to go with her to meet with the county sheriff to talk about CCW overloads in the state of Ohio. So that is a huge win for the state rep to realize if they want information from the 2A world, they talk to 2A people. So, Robin, what about you?
Robin is still muted. Robin may be frozen. I don't see Robin moving, so
she's not moving.
Yeah, she looks
this
frozen.
is
sticking up her
She just unfroze. Robin, what's going on in your world?
Hi, I'm juggling a lot of things here on the home front. We've been, I've watched GRPC all weekend, and I was also kind of dealing with some remodeling here on the home front. So you can see behind me, I'm trying to find a good place for my challenge. Always with a girl and a gun, I've been busy welcoming a lot of new gun owners into our industry, teaching a lot, writing a lot, and it's been busy.
all righty. Let's go ahead and move off to Amy. We've got you're next up on the list. No, Amy, wait a minute. No, it's not Amy. It's me.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. Well,
Some people.
I'm telling you, man. Well, it's for me. This has been a week of vacation. I've been at home all week. I've been doing some things here and there for the Second Amendment Foundation. I, of course, along with everybody else, caught GRPC live all weekend. And then I got tonight I am doing my show And tomorrow, after 10 days, I get to go back and make real money. I have to go back to work. So, nothing really gun related in my world. And now with both AmCon and GRPC in the rearview mirror, I don't have a whole lot. I get to take a break for a couple of weeks on my pulling what's left of my hair out for the organizational stuff. So just enjoying being home, getting a lot of motorcycle riding in, and that's what's been up with me. Training classes. I know, Tracy, you mentioned that you've got a Mag 20 classroom and a Mag 20 live shoot coming up here real soon. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about with training?
I have some private lessons this week.
Okay. Do you want to plug them, or do you want to?
Well, I have some private lessons, but I also have 3Gun University coming up, so that's going to be really fun. So instead of personal protection, we're going to be talking a lot about 3Gun and the sport of 3Gun and how to do it well.
So if somebody's interested in that, how do they get more information?
They can learn about it at agirlandagun.org/fallfest.
Very cool. All right. Before we head off to break, as I always do, I want to tell everybody, please check out the Self-Defense Radio Network. Our tagline is all your favorite pro-freedom podcasts in one place. As you can see, there are 12 up there right now. We are one of them, along with Armed Lutheran Radio, Eye on the Target Radio, Self-Defense Gun Stories. We've got, no kidding, 3 more that are beginning coming up on the network here very, very soon. And I'm really excited to be telling you the network and to continue to grow that. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to step aside to break for our normal first break. We're going to hear from the SAF, and we're going to hear from ACLD. And when we come back from that, we're going to be talking with John Anderson. No, not the country music guy. John is the main person, along with his wife, but behind the Get Off My Lawn podcast. We'll talk with him right after this.
America is under attack, and we need you to take action now. Our history, culture, constitution, and the American way of life are being assaulted. Violent anarchists are rioting and looting in cities across the country. They are demanding the defunding of our police and an end to law and order. There has never been a more critical time to defend our right to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment Foundation created the Second Amendment First Responders Program. This program seeks to actively engage Americans who want to protect our Second Amendment rights. Please text PROTECT 2A to 474747 and become a Second Amendment first responder. Now is the time to defend our right to keep and bear arms. Text PROTECT 2A to 474747. Again, text PROTECT 2A to 474747. Now is the time to defend our right to keep and bear arms. Text PROTECT 2A to 474747.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you carry a defensive handgun, you need protection from the aftermath of prosecution. Even if you do everything right, you can be the victim of an overzealous prosecutor or even be falsely accused. That is where the ACLDN comes in. They provide immediate assistance when you need it most. If you find yourself under arrest, they immediately pay bail money and the retainer for your attorney. Additional funds are available for trial and civil proceedings. Beyond the money, they have far and away the best team in the industry, providing you invaluable information and training DVDs that are included with your membership and who stand ready to work with your lawyer on your defense. People like Masad Ayub, John Farnham, James Fleming, Tom Givens, Emmanuel Capelson, Dennis Tuller, and led by Network President Marty Hayes. Initial membership is only $135 for your first year, and you get 8 incredible training DVDs and other educational material when you join. If you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourself at your disposal right now, you need to be a member of the ACLDN. Go to armedcitizensnetwork.org and become a member today. And please mention that you heard about them on the Polite Society podcast.
Hey, and welcome back. Again, this is the interview portion of the Polite Society podcast powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Joining us tonight is John Anderson of the Get Off My Lawn podcast. I was I guess how do I put this? I was honored to be a guest. I was going to say corralled into being a guest, but that's not really right. I was honored to be asked to be a guest on his show, not once but twice last week when we had a little bit of technical issues the first time around. John, thank you for coming on the show tonight, man.
Well, I'm honored to be a guest on your podcast tonight, so thank you for the invite.
Now, you can be honest.
You might say corralled. I might say shanghaied. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, I suppose.
Sure. Sure.
Semantics.
No, honestly, just let me say it. The honor was and the pleasure was all ours to have you with us last week. It was really, really awesome having you on. So thank you for that.
Well, to get started, the first time you've been on our show, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Get Off My Lawn podcast, how it got started, and what it's about?
Absolutely. So actually, we've been doing a podcast now for, I lose track of the dates, but coming right up on 2 years now. And about a year ago, we actually had rebranded the name of it. It started off as 2A Tuesday, because we always go Tuesday nights. We go live at 9 o'clock. Much like this one, it just, so far I haven't got anything set up yet to throw it out as in podcast form after the fact. But every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Central Time, we go live. And initially everything was supposed to be kind of gun related, but we wanted to have a few discussions that really weren't gun related. We had some cool stuff back then on the 2A Tuesday podcast where we talked about abortion one night and some other issues that are important to us here. And so I just decided, in the interest of, maybe losing, either losing viewership or maybe in the interest of not getting pigeonholed into just, one thing that we do, we wanted to kind of change the name to where we can talk about, I've been telling my wife that the rate at which I am becoming a grumpy old man, and it seems to be accelerating. So this isn't happening on on an even line. I mean, it's kind of a bell curve here. So it is definitely accelerating faster and faster as time. I keep telling her, two things I tell my wife. One of them is, in 10 years, I don't know if she's going to be able to deal with me. She assures me that she can. So I hope she knows what she's in for. But I also say that, the older I get, the less tolerance I have for, just BS and stupidity. Knowing full well when I point one finger that three more point right back at me. I get that, okay? But at the same time, I'm just about one more stupid person away from saying that for a long time. When it came time to rebrand the podcast, there really was no other choice that was obvious besides, let's just call it the Get Off My Lawn podcast. Then after that, I've gotten a few trolls saying that apparently there's some other big name that does a Get Off My Lawn podcast. But the crazy thing is, if you go search YouTube for Get Off My Lawn, you're probably going to find me instead of that other person, which is why I'm picking up trolls. So maybe somebody else should step it up a little bit, I'm thinking, because apparently I'm getting to be more popular there. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Oh, they're being blocked by YouTube.
That could be it, too.
Being blocked by YouTube. That's why you're coming up first.
That could very well be. But I just figured that if anybody ever learns about this podcast, we're not very big yet. We're growing, but we're still not a very, very wide-reaching podcast. I like to joke that every week we go live to tens of people. And so
I love it. That's brilliant.
Right, because we don't get usually past the 100 views mark in the first night. Usually that takes a day or two to break through 100. But we definitely are growing, and for as small of a reach that we have when we go live, we have really had we've been blessed to have some really big name guests on the podcast, and because of what we do on YouTube and some of the things that we reach out and share on the Facebook page as well. I mean, there are people who have been on. We just had Chris Cheng Thursday night when Paul was with me. Chris Cheng was there, and so was Rebecca Schmoy. She had some technical difficulties herself that night. I found out later the whole town went down for internet, so it wasn't her. It was everybody in her town. But I mean, that's just a couple names. We've had Top Shot Dustin Ellerman. We have had Rob Pincus, Mike Sodini, Cheryl Todd multiple times on the show. I mean, it's just, I've digitally, I haven't physically met a lot of folks yet. I was, thinking maybe this would be the year, but it's obviously not. But digitally, we have rubbed elbows with some really, really heavy hitters in the 2A community. And so just having those folks and everybody here now as friends has really gone a long ways to, helping promote us and just getting our name out there so that we are growing a little bit faster now than what we had been. So it's been really, really a blessing.
Expanding you to dozens of listeners.
Right.
Not just...
Right.
That you can, if you go to the Facebook feed or the YouTube feed, you can comment on the live video, and we will bring your comment up on air and discuss it with John as he's here. So, John, where would you? I mean, obviously, we'd all like to be the next Cam Edwards. We'd all like to be the next Tom Gresham. But where do you see your podcast directionally going?
I honestly, okay. So here's the struggle that I have with that. As a human being, my ego really likes the feedback and the attention that I get. And so you're right. I would love to have my podcast be the next Tom Gresham or whatever it is, but as far as that goes, I mean, I really try to keep myself grounded, and my wife does a great job of helping keep me grounded. Those of you who are married, you understand how your spouse can help with that. Or if you have a long-term significant other, they keep you kind of grounded. But at the same time, I understand that, you don't just shoot to the top overnight. Very rarely does that ever happen. Anybody who's got a successful podcast has been doing it for a long, long time and has really put in the work, and so as far as that goes, I mean, honestly, the real answer of where I see it going, it's not up to me. It's up to the man upstairs, and it's up to the people that, decide that they want to tune in and watch. I still sometimes have a hard time believing that anybody wants to tune in and listen to what I have to say or any of my rants or my raves. But occasionally something comes out of my mouth that somewhat makes sense, and people tend to nod, and agree with it, and then they want to share that. And so, that's always, I guess, I'm chasing that the next time that happens. I try to stay grounded in the fact that it's going to grow at the pace it's supposed to. And if God wants me to go big, then he's going to make that happen. And if he doesn't want that to happen yet, because he knows how he built me, he knows the ego issues that I have. And so if he's going to keep me in check, then, so be it. That's more important to me. It's more important to me that we stay real, and the people that have been on the podcast and then also know me in real life can tell you that I'm not any different when the camera's off than I am when the camera's on. And 99% of anybody that I've dealt with in this, in the, not the industry, but the podcasting world and the 2A world, 99% or more of the people, that's the case. I mean, I'm not abnormal in that respect. But I just want everything to be real, and if that means that we don't grow as fast because we're not willing to do the things that the metrics say will grow us, I'm okay with that, because I would rather have tens of people that know that I'm a real person and I'm just a regular person. I don't work in the gun industry. I don't work in the 2A industry. This is just what I do on Tuesday nights, and then I throw up a lot of memes on the Facebook page in the meantime. So as far as that goes, I'm just like anybody else. I'm just a regular guy. I happen to have a couple things that work for me. I've got a big mouth, a microphone, and the internet. So I've got a podcast.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and open this up to my staff here. Anybody want to yap with John for a few minutes? We've got 5 minutes to the bottom of the hour.
Well, I was I forgot when I came on your podcast, John. It was a couple weeks ago with some other.
It's been a few weeks.
2A advocacy, yeah. But I want to say, you had a. I enjoyed myself, and it was. You talk about important issues, and it's. I know you say you're starting out. So really, you bring a lot of value to the table, and even though yes, everyone starts from somewhere. I just, I hate hearing you say that, because you are somebody that has a voice, and you bring a lot of value to the table, and just from the standpoint of hearing your show, listening, and then also being a guest on it, you absolutely have, a lot you bring to the table. So I just want to mention that to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And
well, John, I'm
you're
going to
welcome
just.
back go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say you need to fake it till you make it, and then. With as many years as it takes, and then all of a sudden people are going to be like, he was an overnight success.
Right.
And it'll be 5 years, 10 years, something like that. But once people discover you, then, well, you weren't doing it on Tuesday, obviously, so now you're an overnight success.
Right.
And believe me, dude, I have the ability to delete. If I ever make it big, I have the ability to delete shows a long way back. So I would recommend you keep the same keep the same option.
The best part is, and I'll try to get this before the bottom of the hour for you, Paul. But as far as those shows go, I just want to throw out there that you can go find them on YouTube. They're on the channel is called Sandhills Shooter, but. All of the ones that are out there, even the ones where we have the technical difficulties. I mean, I left that in the playlist. It's not in the general feed, but it's in the playlist. And so, if YouTube ever decides that they don't like us and they don't want to play with us at all, even though we play by their rules now, if they decide that we're not welcome on the playground, my stuff is still backed up, and everything that goes goes up at all, whether it's live or produced, everything that goes to YouTube also goes to go and delete them in a couple places then. So, but I think it's important that we try to play by YouTube's rules as long as we possibly can, because anybody that finds me on Gunstreamer, the fact that they found me there, anything that I tell them, I'm probably already preaching to the choir. Whereas if somebody's, looking for some other topic and they're searching on YouTube, there's a chance they could stumble across any one of us. And they might decide all of a sudden, hey, let's check this out. Why is this in my suggested video feed? What's this all about? And they might watch it and they might be like, well, hey, this was an interesting discussion about, red flag laws, or this was an interesting discussion about abortion, something like that. Then they start watching some of the other videos and go, these people are gun owners, but none of them sound like lunatics. None of them sound like, they're living in a bunker somewhere up in the mountains. These guys and girls, they're just regular people. And that's really the value of being able to keep these on YouTube, keep them on Facebook, wherever they are on social media, on the mainstream platforms, because, we've all heard people say, let's just leave and let's just go to this other platform. Well, that's all good and well, but billions of people aren't going to find us there. And trust me, when I say Gunstreamer, unless you do this for a living or do this for a hobby, you don't know that website.
Right.
People mainstream. It's not mainstream yet. We need to get it there, but we still need to be on the YouTube.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are just coming up on the bottom of the hour. If you could please again give out the. You were just YouTube, right? You were not. You're not a classic podcast yet, right?
Not yet. I just need to figure out how to make that work, and then commit to doing it every week. But as of yet, just YouTube, and then I do try to get those put back up on. I've let that ability go, but I can download the YouTube videos and post them on my Facebook page, and you can find me YouTube or Facebook at Sandhills Shooter on both of them.
We do have to run off to break, and I'm going to leave it up to you, John, whether you want to hang out for the rest of the show or if you want to jet whenever, but we do have to run off to break. When we come back, folks, we're going to be talking about Gun Rights Policy Conference and what happened this past weekend, and we'll get to that right after this. This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by The Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant is designed for a broad base of citizens that range from students that don't own a gun that build upon each other from avoidance, using verbal commands, and preparing for contact, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, your 911 call, interacting with the police, to even dealing with the legal system in the aftermath. The Complete Combatant courses are a layered approach for all levels of experience that will walk you through all the many stages of decisions while developing a game plan tailored to your skills and your everyday carry. Please visit www.thecompletecombatant.com and make sure you mention this ad to receive 15% off. Again, that's www.thecompletecombatant.com and mention the ad for 15% off. All right, and we're back. This is the Polite Society podcast powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. This segment is going to be, well, it's not really news. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Gun Rights Policy Conference that happened this past weekend. It was supposed to be down in Orlando, and I should have a really sore back and butt right now. But I don't, because it was all virtual. My plan was that I was going to download some clips and play them as we talk about them. That, I got to be honest with you, that did not happen today. I had too many other things going on that I'll discuss at in a show a few weeks down the road. But my day got totally eaten up. So we're going to have to just go off of memories and of just impressions of Gun Rights Policy Conference. I'm going to go ahead and happened on Sunday. And that was when Charlie Cook did for GRPC what he did for AmCon. And he made a video totally off his iPhone 7, I think it is, instead of 20 or whatever they're up to now. And he made a video and showed what can be done. And I thought he just knocked that out of the park. Amanda, what did
I agree with you?
I'm going to go to you next, Amanda. What was your big takeaway from the weekend?
Well, I kind of always do watch it and then watch it again kind of thing, so we watch it live and then you go back and watch little nuggets of it. So I did not see any of Saturday. So I only have Sunday as a reference because I was teaching on the range all Saturday. But I was so thrilled with the presence and just the strength of the gals from the DC Project. It's times like that when you see them, each in their own element, talking about the things that they're doing or that are important to them and you end up really just realizing what that group is made up of and just how strong each one of those women are individually. And it was amazing.
Very cool. Rob,
I would add you in there too.
Yeah. And I got to say, Amanda, I sent this to you in a text, but thank you so much for the shout out in your talk. I'm humbled when everybody mentions me in that when I did my talk, Tony Simon commented that I'm the reason he got into advocacy, and that, come on, I'm an old bull trucker,
but that's not how it works. And there's something in each one of us that triggers or ticks or touches somebody else. I can remember my first GRPC. And my biggest takeaway was the fact that I actually got to see AWR Hawkins and see his face and then sit down and talk to him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I've read his stuff for years. And to have the opportunity to be like, he's talking to me. It was that there's something that touches different people in each one of us. So know that.
All right. Since I see he's still here, I don't think John, were you able to catch any of GRPC, and what did you think of it?
Well, I definitely caught.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
John. Sorry.
John.
Which one did you mean? Okay. Yeah, I did catch just a little bit of it. I was at work all day on Saturday, and so I couldn't watch very much of it live. And then yesterday, we actually made a road trip up to my home ranch, my dad, the Gregory, South Dakota, right into Nebraska is actually where I was. And I came back this morning. So on the road, I was watching it, and I got through part 1 and started into part 2. And that's as far as I've gotten. So I haven't caught anything from Sunday yet. It's all been just part. I do want to just say one quick shout out to a friend of mine who was on part 1, Patricia Harold, president of Nebraska Firearms Owners Association, was one of the presenters there, and so it was cool to see Nebraska represented. And she does a great job every time she speaks at any kind of event.
All right, now let's go to John Richardson. Now, I know there was 2.5-year-old challenges, but from what you've seen, man, what was your takeaway?
Well, I did get to see the DC Project ladies. I saw Holly Sullivan from the Connecticut Citizens Defense League and Paul Vallone of Grassroots North Carolina. I caught part of Gene Hoffman's talk, I think on Saturday evening, towards the end. Saw a couple of the politicians. When I got home last night, I saw you and Charlie. Charlie's thing was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of like embarrassed. Mine was just like sitting in front of basically the closet where we keep our dryer and washer, and it's like, geez, I'm kind of embarrassed here that mine is so no graphics, no. People really went all out. That was fantastic. People used a lot of graphics. They integrated a lot of stuff. But Charlie's was just so good. I also loved what Diane Muller was saying about how people helped one another out. And I actually remember that when Julianne offered the dresses to her last year in Phoenix. So, and the whole story behind I Will Not Comply.
Yeah.
That was very good.
All right, let me skip around a little bit here. Rob Morris, were you able to catch? You were kind of internet challenged.
Yeah, the internet came on late yesterday. It was on about half the time yesterday. Today it started an hour between interruptions. Now it's up to 4. No, I'm still rear end high in hurricane cleanup down here.
All right. Gary, you're next on my screen. What'd you think, bud? Were you able to catch any of it?
Yeah, absolutely I did. I tried watching live, and we have it on YouTube, and able to have alternate plans when the first one falls. It was kind of like a regular GRPC without the frosting, without getting to meet people and shake hands. You just tend to see them once a year, and that part, it really was kind of a bummer. I mean, that aspect of it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy, I know you were not able to see it, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip past you if you don't mind. For most of it, at least, what was your takeaway from the weekend?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to share that this is probably the 4th or 5th GRPC I've attended. And the first one I attended, 4 or 5 years ago, I remember thinking to myself, all right, this is the show/event within the industry that I need to make sure I'm at every single year. And because of that experience, and I didn't speak. I was just a regular attendee. I was working in the industry still, but I don't even think I was with this podcast at the time. I think I joined in, the second year, but anyway, I really am proud of, what Andrew and everyone else at Second Amendment Foundation was able to pull off with it, because the energy that I felt from that same, policy conference I went to the first year and continued going to in person after that, I felt the same energy, even though I'm just sitting at home watching online. And it's because of the interaction and just the information overload. Smiling from ear to ear, thrilled to see all these women that I can call friends that were on the same panel. And it really showed how our strength in numbers, and even what Amanda was saying, how she said, I didn't realize how busy everyone was and how you can kind of see each other in their own individual elements. Like honestly, Robin, I was floored away by your speech, because I was just, I can't believe she's doing all this. And I of course I know what she's doing, just from your regular posts and stuff. But when you take that into consideration, and then consider that DC Project, we all volunteer our time for that, it really puts into perspective how important Second Amendment advocacy is to each one of us that's there. And it just makes you want to jump in and, okay, what can I do more? And then I also want to mention that even though for listeners who may not be in the industry, I want to stress that it's so important, just as a gun owner or as someone who cares about gun rights, to get involved and attend the conference, because the educational aspect, it's not just listening. Of course, the speeches are motivating, but the educational aspect really helps drive home what information you may not know that you can use for your own personal advocacy. One of the biggest takeaways that I had was I think it was Dave Koppel's his name. I don't know him, but he was the one that was talking about the case law in reference to the California Ninth Circuit, when they said that it was unconstitutional to do the magazine, to ban the magazine capacity restrictions. He really gave me some use as having family members in California and a lot of friends that constantly ask me about why is it that, magazine capacity restrictions, why is it a big deal? He actually gave me talking points that I can use and say, okay, well, here's historical firearms, and here's this case that was presented, and it's just so useful. It's so much useful information. It's educational, it's inspiring. And even though it was virtual this year and I miss seeing everyone, I encourage everyone just to go back and watch the videos, download them, and attend next year. Plan on attending next year, because it's just amazing. And it's free. It's mind-boggling. It's free. It's all free. So
we're coming up on closing up on segment. And I want to get Robin in here yet. Robin, were you able to catch any of GRPC? And if so, what did you think?
Yeah, I watched a lot of it, and the thing that struck me the most was how fast-paced it was, because it was just one speaker after another. And I think in real life, when we're in person, you have a moment to kind of digest and see this person and talk to this person. And in this case, it was just boom, boom, boom. So I did go to YouTube, and I liked the Facebook feed, but I preferred it on YouTube because I could actually forward and go back and kind of control it a little better, to be like, who was that? And how do I learn more about that? And I did a lot of screen capture too. But I think that was the biggest, someone mentioned earlier, just so much information overload.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to, if you search for Second Amendment Foundation on either Facebook or YouTube, they have a big Facebook page, and they are getting a presence on YouTube, but all of GRPC is there, and you can watch it in parts and pieces to your heart's content. If you haven't caught it, please go check it out. There's a lot of great stuff there. So we do have to step off to break. We are going to be coming back with news. Yes, it was a slow news day until Friday. The ramp up for GRPC, we got the news about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and boy, we're going to be talking about that. We'll get to that right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by Concealment Solutions. Jason Christensen makes the most comfortable inside the waistband holster on the market, bar none. The Black Mamba. Some of the other products offered are the Sidewinder outside the waistband holster and Python gun belts. Every product that Concealment Solutions makes has unsurpassed craftsmanship that shows in the fit and finish of the product. Visit concealmentsolutions.com to view all of the products available, and you can get 10% off your order when you enter the promo code POLITICS in the promo code box at checkout. That's concealmentsolutions.com.
And welcome back to the news segment of the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. This is our news segment again, and really we've got to lead with the number one story, the elephant in the room. Whatever bad phrasing you want to put to it. On Friday, it was announced that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had passed. Shout out right now, because I was just scrolling. First of all, I've got issues with getting social media commentary put up on the screen. I will try to get that fixed before next week. I tried fixing it on the fly. It ain't going to work while we're on the air right now. But a couple things. Charlie Chambers says Charlie Cook was the best ever. John Anderson says Charlie Cook rocks. And Charlie Cook says, yeah, you're too kind, John Richardson. But, yeah, on Friday night, as we were starting the virtual cocktail party where the SAF news broke that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had passed, and social media was blowing up. And as I was trying to get a shout-out to the Babylon Bee and to Miggy Gonzalez, because he's the one, when I pop Facebook, he's one of the first that pops up in my feed. Breaking news from the Babylon Bee: the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has reversed the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I expected that from a Hawaiian judge. I was surprised that the Ninth Circuit picked it up so quickly.
But seriously, this changes the election. It was important before. It puts an exclamation point on the important. This makes the election absolutely critical. They say President says he's going to Friday or Saturday. He's going to send a nomination up. McConnell says he's going to get it up in front of the Senate. There's going to be a vote. What do you all think?
Well, I have to say that the best thing that I saw was a Joe Biden meme where they were talking about he putting up his judge nominations, and it was Judy, Wapner, and Judge Joe Brown was going to be.
Wow.
So, what's Trump getting reelected is more important than the cases that would be decided between now and the election. Therefore, what should President Trump do? Does leaving that spot vacant generate more votes for Republicans or more votes for Democrats? Put another way, if he fills the seat, does that get him more votes?
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that when Scalia passed, the Obama put up somebody,
right?
And so I think for Trump to do any less puts him in a weaker light.
Mm-hmm.
People would, to elaborate your position, I voted for him to be a advocate for the my point of view, and he wasn't if he fails to fill that position. It's a good point. John, you're politically acute. What do you think?
Well, I mean, a lot of people in 2016 voted for Trump because of the Supreme Court. They may not have liked him, but they recognized that the Supreme Court was the issue. I really think he's got to do it. And do we really want to go into November 4th if we have a tied election with a 4-4 Supreme Court?
No.
Ooh, good
we don't.
Point. Thank you.
And I don't think he... And, I think everything I'm hearing, it's coming down to three people right now. Amy Coney Barrett, Barbara Lagoa from Florida, who's in the 11th Circuit, and Allison Jones Rushing, who I found out this evening that my wife's uncle was the principal of the school where her mom teaches. So she's a local. I don't think she'll get it because she's too young. She's only 38. I'm I would like to see Amy Coney Barrett, but I think it's going to be Barbara Lagoa.
Is that the lady from Miami?
Yeah. She's Cuban American.
Yeah.
Her confirmation was 80-15. She wasn't that controversial. And she might guarantee Trump carries Florida.
Well, and look at and I've seen this all day. Look at it from this perspective. If it's her, then the Democrats immediately have to go into attacking a Hispanic female right before the election.
And they also have to change their attacks because their attacks are going to be centered primarily right now on Amy Coney Barrett.
Right. Right.
And she went to
I
the
think-
same law school as Ginsburg.
I think that's why they've kept the gal from Miami kind of on the down low until now. You know, so I think that does increase her chances, and I think you're right. They're going to have a hard time fighting against it. Though I have to say, I don't think that anything is going to be decided before the election. I don't see that we have enough senators with a spine. I think that they kind of need propped up a little bit.
Well, I heard something worse than that is that there's a couple special elections that could actually give the Democrats a majority before January.
Right.
Arizona and Georgia. You have two special elections. Kelly Loeffler and Martha McSally's seat are both, you're filling the remainder of her term, and they're being elected for the next term as well.
Mm-hmm.
So God forbid we get Mark Kelly, Mr. Gabby Giffords, and John Ossoff has to get 50%.
Do you think that because now all of a sudden they're looking at the Supreme Court? I mean, because this puts the Supreme Court front and center. Those of us who've been watching the Supreme Court and watching the ages of the justices, we've known that it's been important the whole time, but it's now in the voters' face more so than it would have been for any other reason. So do you think that this is going to change the dynamic of like Arizona and the Mark Kelly election? Because Arizonans are going to say Mark Kelly versus a Supreme Court justice, that that those links are going to be made, just the dots are going to be all connected for them. They're going to be led there. They don't have to think it through because people don't think 3D court case chess.
You're right. They don't.
I
mean, I've heard. Go ahead, Rob.
Emotionally, but will Republicans go, oh, yeah, that was an important vote. That's why I have to go vote. We'll sit out if he doesn't deliver.
Well, you've seen a lot of Democrats gone bonkers. I mean, just absolutely
insane, off the rails, crazy.
Which is
yes, I was going to do something using about bats.
Don't stop your enemy when he's making a mistake.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of people who, when they appointed Kamala Harris as the potential vice president, that we had at the Republican office in my county, we had people show up to say, I've been a Democrat forever, but I didn't sign up for this. And they're like, give me a Trump sign.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see more and more talking about the post office and voting by mail and absentee ballots. And I think that's going to become more prevalent than ever before, and how people are going to get to the polls. If ballots are just being mailed out to deceased people or people who no longer live in those precincts, all the stories we've been hearing, I think that's just going to become more and more of an issue as we get closer to the election.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm wondering, and people, you're right, have been going absolutely nuts on social media Is anybody worried that things will really break down if we happen to get a nominee put to the Senate and get through the Senate before the election?
I live in Texas, where we live
Well, yeah,
in that state of mind that everything's going to like come crashing down around us, and you truly are your own first responder. And
where do you think that will happen? In Portland, yes.
Yes.
In Seattle, yes. Maybe San Francisco.
in Austin, maybe we're defending the police where Antifa's rioted for 80 days in a row.
Austin burst in flames. That'd be funny.
For you, maybe not for us who live here.
Well, yeah.
Funny how? Yeah.
They're not going very far out into the suburbs, even in Austin.
Well, Robin lives in the suburbs. I have an Austin mailing address.
Right.
I am on the bus route.
But even still, it's creeping up into the suburbs. So it's definitely
you're not safe even where Robin lives.
Can I?
Robin and I maybe live 12 miles apart tops. So.
Did you see what happened? I believe it was in Lancaster, PA. BLM and Antifa said, "Yeah, we're going to riot," and the police said, "Not here." They were arrested. The judge said, "Yeah, that's breaking the law. The law is very clear. $1 million bail."
And
cash.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And the
force
father
was
was
wonderful.
One night.
And the father was losing his mind, saying it was unconstitutional to arrest my child for breaking the law and setting bail.
Surprise, y'all. You should have, if you wanted to earn your riot stripes, you need to go to Portland, not Lancaster. I'm suspecting not Austin either.
It's all about location, right?
Yeah.
Talk about which attorney general and DA was elected.
Well, and related to that, I seen on the news today that the attorney general has ruled some cities. What am I? The word I'm trying to say is
anarchist.
Anarchist cities. Yes.
Yep. For New York.
Oh, I read that article at lunchtime. Yeah, I saw that.
But what's that mean?
It means
It
federal
means they don't
funding
get
may be
federal
going
dollars.
away. Yeah.
So the federal funding is coming away? So it's not
Pick a different city to riot in.
No.
Joe Biden,
Explain
I'm
it.
sure, will promise-
Explain. Does it mean the military's coming in? Does it mean that they'd get no public funding? Does it mean, that they're going to draw and quarter the governor? What does it really mean?
You can only hope.
Probably not draw and quarter, but okay.
Darn.
It means they'll run out of other people because they're in massive debt. Each one of those Democrat
Oh yeah.
Jurisdictions. So Portland, New York City held New York State, right?
Yeah, because if New York City bites it, they are so hip deep into New York State's pocket. If New York City falls, it's going to drag New York State right with it. Let's do this. We're a little long on the news segment here. We're a little past the top of the hour. We're going to take one more break. We're going to go to our DGU segment. We got two of them to talk about tonight, including an attempted carjacking at a gas station that was stopped cold. We'll talk about that right after this.
Firearm Safety Institute is one of Northwest Illinois' premier firearm training companies. They provide superior firearm training to all levels of shooters. Gary Doherty has been a trainer and concealed weapons permit holder for many years. While living in Nevada, he carried legally and has the experience to train you to do the same. Firearms Safety Institute offers a wide range of courses designed to meet the personal needs of both seasoned shooters and those that are new to the world of firearms. If you are looking to apply for the Illinois Concealed Carry License, Firearm Safety Institute sizes and can provide individualized instruction if that is your personal preference. He's happy to work with you and your friends to arrange private classes and will come to your location and work around your schedule. If you would like to get your Illinois CCW or increase your firearm knowledge or skills, go to firearmsafetyinstitute.com to start the conversation. Mention the Polite Society podcast and receive a 10% discount on your training. Remember, that's firearmsafetyinstitute.com. Get your Illinois CCW today.
And welcome back to the Defensive Gun Use segment of the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. These discussions are not legal advice. Some of us are trainers, but this is not formal training, and you need formal training. The Defensive Gun Use segment is intended as information, not as training. As always, the opinions of the hosts are only their own opinions and not those of any sponsors or other affiliations. Once again, we didn't assign stories to read before we went to air, so I'm just going to eeny, meeny, miny, moe and give it to the new guy, Rob. I think you're going to get the first one, bud.
You need to page down and get there then. The left coast is burning. Oregon, California, Washington, Idaho, and so have massive wildfires raged across the region. Authorities found evidence of arson, and several people have been arrested for setting those fires. Catherine Cashman in Oregon was driving home with her 10-year-old son when they noticed a man in their driveway. He was wandering around across their 10-acre property, looking at their belongings and carrying something in his hand. It looked like matches. While her son filmed, Cashman exited her vehicle and approached the man. She ordered him to the ground. In her right hand is a handgun. That's caught on video. The man obeys her. She asked him what he was doing on his property, to which he replied, just passing through. She asked him why he had matches in his hand and if he'd lit anything on fire. His response was that he smokes. She had police arrive, and they placed the suspect under arrest. The suspect had threatened to burn her property down. It's unclear if the suspect was charged with arson at this time.
We don't defend property. However, arson's another thing. Fire is another thing. The fire will not be contained to your property. I'm torn. Gary, you and I usually butt heads. I'm really interested to know what you think on this one.
There's just one thing. I mean, there's not enough evidence here. Was there burn marks somewhere on the house? As far as that, I don't know. I mean, they could obviously charge him. He's walking around with matches and no cigarettes. Maybe it says the suspect had threatened a firearm, I think, and she ordered him to the ground, and he didn't run away and leave. And police do from there. You never know what's going to see. Up.
Anybody else want to jump in on this one?
I just want to say she didn't shoot him. So, right? That's the big thing is you can use your firearm up to, but not including lethal force to stop somebody. But it's when you pull the trigger that the game changes. So, Rob?
Yes, it's a messy situation. Is any trespasser a potential lethal threat? Because in fire season, he could burn down my house. He has matches on his person. We wouldn't like police to have that as an argument because we're afraid they'd plant evidence on innocent people. And yet, we've seen people be arsonists out in those western states. So where's the balance lie?
The difference is that matches on his person and matches in his hand. So he's in a place where he shouldn't be with something he shouldn't have. And it starts there. It's sort of like where your mom taught you in kindergarten, choose your friends wisely because you will be judged with what they do. And this is that. This is what it looks like. Amy, what did you want to say?
Well, it doesn't say whether he had cigarettes in his hand as well or on his person. And then another thing, just going off of what we were talking about with using force. I don't know what Oregon state law is, but I know in South Carolina, you even just pointing a firearm at someone is in a sense using deadly force because it has the capability to inflict serious harm. So as far as trespassing goes, and again, it just really depends on the state law. I mean, she's got 10 acres of land and she sees someone just trespassing. That does happen sometimes when, depending on where her land is situated. So it's just not enough details, in my opinion, to say whether her actions are right or wrong.
I agree. I would just caution anybody. Arson's a whole different story. Arson is lethal force in and of itself, but we don't know if the match. He was trying to strike matches. I'm right with you, Amy. We don't know enough detail, but
right. But he wasn't passing through. He was on her driveway. He wasn't just wandering in the back 40 acres. He was at her house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've just
but
read
I think this
elsewhere.
goes to how. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say he didn't have cigarettes.
Well, I think this goes back to always knowing the tools in your toolbox, and sometimes just verbal acknowledgement and verbal skills is what you need in a situation until it escalates. So I agree with Amy that not knowing his plan or his behavior, it's kind of hard to make that call.
I was talking with one of the people at Second Amendment Foundation this week. We were talking about Massad Ayoob. And for those of you who may not have caught GRPC, Massad Ayoob was installed as president of the SAF this week. I don't know if it's SAF or the Citizens Committee Keep and Bear Arm, but anyway, and they were saying that Massad Ayyoub's voice is so quiet, so calming, so soothing. And I said, "You've never been to a Mag 20 or a Mag 40, have you?
Have you?
Until it's not."
Yeah, when that command voice, that command voice is absolutely a tool. If you can handle things with just your voice, and that's probably your best option. We need to move on to the next one. Tracy.
Hospital after being shot by a man at a gas station off of the East Tex Freeway near the Beltway in Northeast Houston. The shooting happened just a few feet away from the doors and the pumps at a Valero gas station at about 1:15 in the morning. Investigators say a male suspect in a black Ford F-150 was apparently involved in some sort of accident on the freeway and then pulled into the Valero gas station. At the same time, Houston PD says a couple was at one of the gas pumps. A woman was inside a silver SUV and a man was outside pumping gas. That's when the driver of the Ford F-150 attempted to carjack the silver SUV with the woman inside, investigators say. According to the police, the suspect jumped into the driver's seat and tried to take off. That's when the man pumping gas pulled out his gun and fired several shots at the suspect. The suspect then jumped back out of the car. Investigators say he was shot and ran behind the gas station and collapsed. It is not clear how many times he was shot, but he was taken to the hospital. Police say they are unaware of any injuries to the couple. So let me start off from being someone who someone tried to carjack me at a Circle K gas station in Baton Rouge on a Friday the 13th about 25 years ago.
Wow.
And I ran the guy over twice with my truck.
Just to make sure you didn't ride
then,
it?
Wow.
Well, yes.
Forward and backwards, or just two wheels?
It was backwards. It was backwards and forwards, and it was just with the right side of my truck. And then
I was just
drove
looking for
off
clarity there.
I went
Okay.
to another place, and then this is the God's honest truth. And then I called the cops. And
Wow.
so there are a couple of important things that I learned from that experience. And number one is, you don't have to wait until 1:15 in the morning to know that you need gas in your vehicle. You're going to need gas in your vehicle when the sun is still up and shining. And it is statistically safer to get gas in the daylight than at nighttime. Number two, Houston is like Baton Rouge. You are just, relying on your own self-wits not to die while you are there. It is a rough town. But, your car doors have locks on them.
Mm-hmm.
Use them. Why was the husband who was pumping the gas, why did he let the dude get so close as to be able to get into his SUV?
Right. I appreciate him wanting to save her, but I wouldn't want my husband shooting into the car that I'm in. There could have been a better plan.
My thing is don't go, you're going to need something that night from the store. Get it during the daytime. You know that you're going to need gas. Get it when the sun is shining. A lot of crimes take place in and around gas pumps at gas stations. And, last month in Baton Rouge, I took a vehicular force-on-force class. And, it's real. And that totally could have been prevented had the people in the silver SUV not made the bad decision to need gas in the middle of the night.
Well, a couple things. I, every year, drive to Gun Rights Policy Conference because I hate flying. And there's times, because of scheduling, I drive when the sun isn't up and the gas runs out when the gas runs out. So, but generally, I'm agreeing with you. Normally, 99 times out of 100, whether it's in the big truck or whether it's in my personal vehicle, I try to get gas during the day, but sometimes it's not avoidable. I do want to, we got some comments. I can't put them on the screen. I apologize. We got some comments on social media. Kevin Zona says, nice to see Rob Morse back on. So you got a fan out there, bud. John Alinsky says, arson is a violent act and must be dealt with accordingly, as well as command voice is always the best option if it can be used at that time. And Kevin also says, Kevin Sona says, I love how Tracy says it was just for the right side of my truck. Like she didn't want to damage suspension on both sides. Okay.
It was the last year Chevy made the Z71 two-door Tahoe. And I don't even know what year that was, but that was, if I can draw a little diagram about where I was and where dude was, but yes, it very much happened.
All right. Well, hey, we need to step aside for our final break. When we come back, we've got two bloggers and a bona fide author on the show tonight. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk blog posts and articles, and we'll wrap the show up when we come back right after this.
In 1928, Germany required its citizens to register their firearms, making possible Hitler's 1938 Nazi Weapons Act, disarming all Jews. Now ask yourself, what is the real consequence of registration? All in favor of gun control, raise your right hand. Brought to you by Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, America's aggressive civil rights organization. jpfo.org.
Okay, and we're back. This is the final segment of the Polite Society podcast powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. I'd like to come join us when we record live. It could be just about any day of the week. Just kind of, I always announce it before it happens. But we love getting live viewers and getting immediate feedback on the show. If you can't do that, you want to email us about anything you've heard, email onair@politicsandguns.com. Rob, there's been internet issues, as we've discussed quite a bit tonight down there in Louisiana. Have you had anything going up over at Slowfax, man?
When I had intermittent internet, I described what it was like to ride a hurricane. You don't want to do it, but it gives you a tremendous insight into society. You are on your own. Those articles are at slowfax.wordpress.com. John, how about no money or no lawyers, only guns and money?
Well, this past week, virtually all my posts have been about gun rights policy conference, the agenda, when it was going to be, et cetera, how to register for it, also how to register if you're going to the NRA annual meeting. I also have now embedded all 4 segments of the YouTube videos of both days of the Gun Rights Policy Conference. So they're all up at onlygunsandmoney.com.
All right. Amy, you are now I'm going to call you an author because you're being paid now. You're no longer a blogger. You're getting paid to do what you do. Have you got any articles? Well, first of all, plug your new position, and have you got any articles that are going to be coming up soon?
So I'm a staff writer over at Shooting Industry magazine, and they're a part of the FMG Publications family. They also publish Guns Magazine and American Handgunner. And my articles, it'll be a monthly column, but they're not up yet. They'll be starting to print in January 2021, and then it'll be every issue after that.
Very, very cool. Well, before we go ahead and shut things down, I want to remind everybody, as I do every week, go ahead and check out Facebook.com for our listeners group. Just search Polite Society Podcast Listeners. We get daily, we're getting new people in there all the time. And great discussions are going on there. So that does wrap up another episode of the Polite Society Podcast. I'd like to thank John Anderson for joining us today. So for Amy, Dana, Gary, Tracy, John, Susan, Amanda, Robin, and Rob.
Until next time.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.